this one. Details, stream details, stream info. Alright, so anyone, and the live stream is what is Gnosticism? What is Gnosticism? What is Gnosis? And then, who are the Gnostics? Alright, so I'm just setting up the title so that this will go on live with a title para madaling hanapin. Alright, perfect. Okay, so we are live right now. Check ko lang kung tama ba yung ginawa ko. Yes, the Corporate Mystic live. Timeout. Unlisted. What happened? Stream info. Ano nangyari? Hindi siya nag-register. Alright, so ito na lang. What is Gnosticism? What is Gnosis? Who were the Gnostics? Alright, so ay nawala. Mali. Check ulit. Anyone? What is Gnosticism and Gnosis? Who were the Gnostics? Yun. Okay. Alright, and I need to save this one. Perfect. Save na ba yun? Parang hindi siya na-save. Check ko muna. Save. Okay. And we are live. Alright. Hello there. Once again, good day everyone. TM Joseph here from the Corporate Mystic. People call me Father Joe or Frater Joe or Brother Joe, depending on kung ano yung nakasanayan nyo. Most of the time, people just call me Joseph, and I don't have problems with that. All right. So today we are going to talk about Gnosticism. So what is Gnosticism, and who were the Gnostics? All right. So what is Gnosticism and Gnosis, and who were the Gnostics, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna share this link. All right, I'm gonna share this link to my Facebook friends to see if who's still awake. All right. Hey guys, I am live now. Alright, so gising pa siguro yung mga tao. So, check ko muna. Okay. Alright, so who's here? Sino yung members ng Catalyst? Para mas maganda yung usapan, so you know, it's good if maraming participants. Right, so copy. Eto. $5D. Alright, please say hi if you're already there, alright? Sino nandyan? Hello? Uy, hi Frater, good evening Frater Tim. How are you? Tapos ka na ba sa sadhanas mo? Alright. Sino pa? Check natin. Alright, I posted a link yesterday. Ito. Alright. Frater Jen Spencer. Sino pa? Frater James. Frater James. Not yet, still chanting on beads. My rounds are not yet finished. Okay, you can do it, Frater. Just take your time. We're just waiting for others. So yun. Alright, si Brother Rochmain. Bro, I'm here. Alright. Sino pa yung mga nag-like? Guy on Fire and on Ice. Frater, good evening. Sino to? Sino to si Guy on Fire and on Ice? Sino pa ba? Oh, Anthony Tan. Hello there. Guy on Fire and on Ice. Kumusta, Frater? It's been a while. Nawala lagi ka taon-taon. Sino pa ba yung gusto sumali? Okay, si Frater Rochmain, Hahabol lang daw siya later kasi may video call pa daw si Commander. So, it's alright. Sino pa yun? Si, sino pa ba? Hmm, James Legaspi, good evening, frater. Guy on Fire and Ice, Anthony. Been very busy as a work and studies. Okay, work and studies kaya or Guy on Fire and Ice, working student life. Sana all. All right. So, yeah, before we formally start, I just want to remind everyone the topic today is what is Gnosticism and Gnosis and who were the Gnostics. All right. Uh, su- 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 Sino to? Sino ba yun? Sino yung kasama natin last time? Si Nana? Si Miss Nana? Send ako na message. Sino pa? Um, Christopher Librias. Hello there, brother. Good evening. No idea about the topic pero makikinood na lang ha. Alright? No worries. You can participate actually even if you don't have idea yet. This is an open discussion, right? We're here to learn from one another. It's not that you watch me because you will be learning new things from me, but of course, basically that's what's gonna happen. But it's not that linear, right? So I might be learning from you as well. Okay. So this is an open forum for learning. We're here for education's sake. All right. We are here to learn from one another because Gnosis is like that. So later on, we will discuss this. All right. Adi Torrente. Hi, Kuya. Uy, hi there. Kumusta? Nasa Thailand ka ngayon, di ba, Andrea? Sino pa? Sino pa ba? Sino pa ba? Sino yun nandito last time? Si Alona. Yes po, I see. What time is it there in Thailand? Alright, so yeah, may check lang muna ako. We'll just wait for others. I'll just be very quick. I'll just, set up something over there. Alright, be back in a bit. All right, so I'm back. Okay. All right, so hi, fratters and sorors. Hi, brothers and sisters. Good evening to everyone. So yeah, today we'll be discussing what is Gnosticism and Gnosis. At the same time, we'll also be discussing who are the Gnostics. All right. So yeah, before we discuss things, let me start with a question. Now, what comes into your mind when you hear the word Gnosticism? All right, and yeah, who do you think were the Gnostics? All right. So, eto. Question number one is, what comes into your mind when you hear the word Gnosticism? Second is that, who do you think are the Gnostics? So, type ko siya dito sa chat. Right. So, all right. So, uh, yeah, the topic is, what comes into your mind when you hear the word Gnosticism, and who do you think were the Gnostics? So yeah, I'll be reading your answers, and after that, I'll be making a small commentaries on your answers, right? So again, this is a learning experience. This is the purpose of this video is for us to learn from one another. Okay. All right. So Corvus Corax, alam ko to, si Jen Spencer to. Hi, Frater Jen Spencer. Good evening. Good evening, Frater. All right, so question for today, or an opening topic for today is, what comes into your mind when you hear the word Gnosticism, and who do you think were the Gnostics? So si guy on fire and on ice, Anthony Tan, he answered Gnosticism is a system of spirituality or philosophy focusing on attaining enlightenment. This definition is pretty much similar to Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, or Tibetan Buddhism. All right. So again, see Anthony Tan. Examples are the Paulicians, and my personal favorite, the Manichaeans. Yeah, the Manichaeans. They were those groups that were founded by the prophet Mani. Okay. All right, good. Now, James Legaspi, according to my own understanding, Gnosticism was all about the deeper aspect of different teachings or the mystical aspects of different religions. Yeah, it could be. All right. Yeah, that's very, very interesting, no? Um, James Legaspi, Gnosticism is all about a deeper aspect or different teachings or maybe the mystical aspects of different religion. Now, before we go deeper into Gnosticism, I just want to, you know, explain it in a way that it's more understandable. All right. So uh, diba, on our previous sessions, we've discussed what's the difference between religion and spirituality, right? Um, humans have this tendency kasi to organize spirituality. And when you try to put spirituality in a box or in a cage, it becomes rigid. Instead of being free flowing, it becomes crystallized. Instead of, being an expression that is dynamic, right? So what happens is if we put something uncontainable into something that is containable, it becomes rigid, it becomes crystallized, it has a pattern, a system, or whatnot. Now, um what Frater James, what you are trying to describe here, this is mysticism, right? So mysticism is, perhaps sometimes it overlaps with Gnosticism, but it's really not Gnosticism, so later on I'll explain that. However, what you're trying to discuss here, this is mystical aspect. So in every organized religion, there seems to be a, let's say, a counterculture, or perhaps in every religion kasi, in every organized religion, there are mystics there. There are people who are awakened in a way on different churches. Even if you know how much you try to organize a religion, you make an organization out of spirituality, may mga tao talagang nagiging awakened, and they will start a counterculture within that specific religion. So we could see that in Islam there is Sufism, um, in 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 Christianity there is Gnosticism. However, um, later on I'll discuss what is the difference between just mysticism and Gnosticism. Kasi Gnosticism kasi has a definite theme na if this is not present, then it's not Gnosticism. That's why in Vatican they have classified Gnosticism, or when you talk about heresies, to be specific, they really separate Gnosticism from other heresies, because Gnosticism is in a way unique. Alright, so yeah, later on we'll discuss that. Alright? Adi Torrente, I don't actually have an idea, but when I hear it, naisip ko yung mga spiritual people na nagli-learn ng iba't ibang teachings and mix it. Perhaps in a way, yes. In a way, yes. But the mixing of the teachings could be or could not be intentional. So later on we'll discuss that. Team Sabas, skillful means and personal experience to attain wisdom. Okay, all right. Okay. Skillful means and personal experiences to attain wisdom. Okay, so yeah, later on we will discuss more on that. Right. Anthony Tan. I'm sorry ha, nababother talaga ako sa pangalan mo eh. Guy on fire and on ice. He says, I agree. Yeah, Anthony Tan, you do agree with my explanation earlier that, in every religion kasi, there would really be an emerging counterculture that would try to, let's say, not really to destabilize, but they try to coexist with the existing religion, the existing system that is created. However, this counterculture kasi will be more mystical, and this will be more focused on accessing the divine within than to interpret the scriptures literally, than to learn from the ministers word for word, and just blindly believe in everything the preacher says. So yun, right? James Legaspi, eclecticism, mixing practices or beliefs, can also be a way to mysticism, but also can become the means or start of being a Gnostic. Mhm, mhm. Yeah, in a way, yes, because Gnosticism kasi, um, okay, so Gnosticism um, is considered to be a heresy in the Roman Church, because Gnosticism teaches a very, very different view of Christ, a different view on creation, and a different view on attaining salvation. Okay? Alright, so sino pa bang hindi nakasagot? Nakasagot na ba lahat? Nakasagot na ba lahat? May hahabol pa ba? Ah, check natin, no? Yung mga kaibigan natin. Baka tulog pa. Baka nakatulog. Who is this? Alright, Christopher Librias. No idea, listening. Alright, not a problem, brother. But have you heard about Gnosticism before, Christopher, or not yet? Nababother ako sa ano ko, sa balbas ko. Gusto ko tong pahabain hanggang dito. Kita niyo yung mga ano, yung mga ministro sa Joseon era, if you know, if you're watching K-drama. Yun yung gusto ko i-achieve eh. Napaka-neat, mahaba, ta straight. Alright, so wala na sigurong sasagot, no? Christopher Librias, yes, pero di ko po naintindihan. Okay, okay, sure. Alright, so first, when talking about Gnosticism, we need to make sure that we make a distinction between Gnosticism and Gnosis. Alright? So Gnosticism and Gnosis, let's not try to mix these two terms up. However, Gnosis is, in a way, being practiced, or let's say being experienced by the Gnostics, or for those people who really don't call themselves Gnostics but they're having that quote unquote experience. However, yeah, Gnosis, it's an experience. So we will be discussing more of Gnosis later on. So Gnosis, it's an experience, right? Um, Gnosticism is a movement. All right, it's a movement that emerged like around late. No, it emerged around second century AD, and it lasted up to late 14th, 5th, early 15th century. So napakahaba ng range ng ano ng let's say existence ng mga Gnostics, or the existence of Gnosticism as a movement. All right. And then there on the 17th century, but that's like 14, 15, 16, 17. That's like 300 years after the last Gnostics were really extinguished by the church. Anyway, Gnosticism is a movement. It's really hard, or it's inevitable that if we discuss about Gnosticism, we also talk about Docetism. Docetism is somewhat similar to Gnosticism. However, it's a different movement, and it's just very short-lived. It just existed for like maybe less than 100 years, or 100 years perhaps, and then it vanished. Now, Gnosticism, there was no Gnostic church in the past. That's one thing that we need to understand and we need to remember. There was no Gnostic church, and there's even no group of people who call themselves Gnostics. Actually, they call themselves Christians. All right, they call themselves Christians. They are Christians because they believe in Jesus, and they believe in the miracles, and also they believe in salvation. However, their interpretation is actually different. So iba yung interpretation nila. When Constantine the Great tried to unify Christianity by the First Council of Nicaea. He compiled the Bible, he compiled the scriptures from different bishops, and he created orthodoxy. There were people who did not adhere to what Constantine the Great have started. So, doon nagmula yung mga Gnostics. Now, there are actually some claims, no? May nakikita ko, may nababasa ko online. Sinasabi nila na Gnosticism kuno predates Christianity, or Gnosticism started before Christianity. Actually, that is wrong. Right? Gnosticism emerged after the death of our Lord and Master Jesus. So, Gnosticism started early second century. That's like maybe perhaps 50 years to 100 years after Jesus died on the cross. Gnosticism kasi, it comes with many names, many movements, right? However, yung pinaka let's say core belief, or let's say yung pinaka core philosophy kasi ng Gnosticism is that Gnostics were dualists, right? They were dualists. There was an earlier heresy before Gnosticism. They call it the Manichaeans. I think I read it here. Brother Anthony Tan, right? Your favorite, the Manichaean. Hello. Naririnig niyo ba ako? All right, yeah. All right, Anthony Tan. Corvus Corax, sorry frater, poor connection. Oh, really? It's actually raining. Kaya siguro poor yung connection. Anyway, yeah, the Manichaeans, okay? So, the Manichaeans kasi, they are actually considered to be, some scholars consider them to be the first or the earliest Gnostics, while others do not consider them as Gnostics. So, depending on, whose work are you looking into, all right? I've actually researched about them. So, actually, the great Saint Augustine was actually a Manichaean before he was converted into Christianity. Anyway, the Manichaeans, they are dualists. The concept kasi of Gnosticism reflects the beliefs of the Manichaeans. All right, so there are different groups in different timelines that has the same theme. Okay, so different groups, different names, but considers themselves as Christians. They did not adhere to the orthodoxy created by Constantine the Great, and they call themselves Christians, but they have different belief systems. But there is a theme. May tema na kung saan pag makikita mo na, they believe in these things, that's what triggers the Vatican or the Pope or the religious authority to call them Gnostics. All right, but there was no Gnostic church in the past, and this is not an organized religion. Like, okay, there's a Gnostic church, and the Gnostic church had transmission of, let's say, their tradition was preserved, just like what the Catholic Church has been doing now. Except siguro for Arianism, but Arianism is different. It's not Gnosticism. It's a different heresy. Anyway, yung common kasi sa Gnosticism is that they are dualist in nature. So, ito yung pinaka-tema ng Gnosticism, alright? And the last remaining Manichaean temples still exist in Western China, and they blended the earliest Christian churches in China, fusing Catholic, Manichaean, and Buddhist elements. Yeah, actually, Manichaeans also combined even, Hindu teachings and also Zoroaster. Yeah. Sino yun? I can't pronounce the name of the religion. Basta si Ahura Mazda yung god nila. Zoroaster. Yeah, Zoroaster. Okay, anyway, Yun. So, syncretic kasi yung belief ni Prophet Mani. So, it's very interesting now when the Prophet Mani, I think Mani is from Persia. Not quite sure. Oh, Mani, yung parents pala ni Mani, I'm not sure ha, kung parents ba ni Mani ay Jews. Basta, si Mani kasi, um, during his time, I think he was living in a place where it was a melting pot of culture. So that's the start of his religion, and he proclaimed himself as a prophet, right? So yeah, so doon nagsimula yung Manichaean religion. Anyway, moving on. Yun, Gnosticism reflects the Manichaeans pretty well. um, they believe, no, Gnostics believe that there are two gods. All right. So, um, okay. Have you tried reading the Bible? If you try to read the Bible, the Old Testament, it seems that God is uh, very angry, very jealous, and God wants to kill, 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 kill. All right, that's what you can read on the Old Testament. However, in the New Testament, God seemed to be very soft, very gentle, very loving. All right, so um, that's one of the problems of the early churches because they try to really understand, or they try to make sense out of these two contrasting teachings. So the Gnostics have different take on this. The Gnostic movements, most of them, they would say that there are two gods. There is a higher God that has different emanations, and there was this lower God, which is an ignorant God, which created the material world. And iba-iba yung tawag nito Iba-iba yung tawag for different Gnostic movements. Iba-iba yung tawag nila. Others call the greater God Sophia. Other call it in different names. And the creator though of the physical universe is the Archon. Yes, that is correct, Anthony, the demiurge. So the creator of this world is the demiurge, the demiurgos, right? So um, Gnostics, no, believe that spirit is good, the body or the physical universe is bad. So we are actually, uh, divine sparks trapped in matter. So this is a prison. That's how they view the material world, right? Ricardo Strochmin Omel, good evening. Good evening, brother. All right, so that's how they view the material world. Material world is evil, and you will not get anything from this. And um, some Gnostic sect would say that the material world now, this is just an illusion. This is not the real world. This is just created by the Archon or by the Demiurge, by a lower god, right? And the second characteristic of Gnostic sects is that most of them, they do not believe that Jesus had a physical body. So they do not believe in the virgin birth, because they also do not believe that Jesus had a physical body. So lahat daw ng encounters nila with Jesus, the apostles, even the crucifixion, it was just like a hologram. It was just their imagination. Or, God was, trying to trick them in a way for them to believe that Jesus has a body. So the crucifixion was not real, right? It was not real. That's for most of the Gnostics, and that concept came from Docetism. All right, so um, that idea might have emerged for parang para kasing may dalawang movements on that time. First is that there was a group of people who's having this, philosophical argument that, if Jesus is God, then, he could not be suffering like that, something like that. And the other one is that, there are other, religious people who in a way really thinks that because Jesus is God, he could not have suffered like that. So, it's really interesting because their understanding on that specific time and age is very different from our understanding right now. Today we have the internet, we can research and whatnot, and we have idea of different cultures. Sa kanila, wala yun. So, their knowledge is very limited, and their interpretation of things, how one story passes to a different person, they use kasi oral tradition. Um, Not everyone is literate, and if you travel from one place to another, different culture, different language, so it's really different to transmit messages properly. Unlike today, that we could say that English is the universal language. So kahit sang bansa ka man, if you want to discuss something, if you want to share something to your friends or loved ones, you can easily use language for that. Or if you have friends from overseas, you can just easily use English, right? If you're in a new place, you talk to someone, you don't know his language, you just talk to English. But in their time is really really different. So different yung nila transmission. So yun, ano pa, Gnosticism then is a movement that does not promote childbirth. Alam niyo ba yun? So the Gnostics were very very conservative because they think that procreation is the agent of the devil. At least, no, for some, if not most, of the Gnostics, that's how they see it. That's how they see it. Because procreation uh, means you are creating a new person to a divine spark. That's why most of the Gnostic movements, they don't indulge in those things. Christopher Librias, gotta go. Replay ko na lang po bukas. Good night all. Alright, brother. Sleep well. Sleep well. Alright. So, yun. Um, Anthony Tan, you wanna say something? So, with that being said, the Gnostics were very, very similar. If we look at them, no, they are very similar to the to Buddhists, right? Because once you become a Buddhist monk, um, you abstain from sex, you renounce the world because you want to seek nirvana, or that highest happiness, enlightenment, whatever you want to call that, samadhi. All right. So yun. Kaya very much similar ang Gnosticism to Mahayana Buddhism, or just Buddhism in general, right? So another thing, kasi Gnosticism din kasi is um, yung mga books, yung literature ng mga Gnostics, it has been lost already. After Constantine the Great, compiled the Bible, what happened is that inotos din nila na ipasunog lahat ng mga scriptures na hindi nakasali sa Bible. He who holds a scripture that is not within the compiled set of books will be considered a heretic. All right? Now, if you will be considered a heretic kasi in medieval times, that's the same as that's the same as treason. That's the same as betrayal to your country, because when Constantine the Great adopted Christianity. It became the state religion. Now, if it is the state religion, you need to follow it. If you don't follow it, that means you are betraying the state. So, heresy could mean death. All right? Because if you are a heretic, you will be excommunicated and you will be killed. You will be asked first if you want to convert it. Do you want to convert or die? It's just simple. So that's the reason why these other Christian sect whom we call now as Gnostics, this is why they started creating secret societies. So they try to hide themselves from uh, the Roman Church, from the eyes of Vatican, para hindi sila mahuli at hindi sila mapatay. So just try to imagine, no, if ngayon yun nangyari, it's very different, right? If we try to look at the world today, there's so many religions right now. There are so many factions in Christianity. Just try to imagine if we live like, let's say, 1,000 years or 1,500 years ago. Ano na kayang nangyari sa atin, di ba? We could have been killed. And yung kapalaran ng mga Gnostics are very, very cruel. Once you are charged with heresy, blasphemy, and other stuff that seems to be, let's say, offensive to the Roman Church, then you will be burned at stake. So sinusunog talaga yung mga Gnostics, no? So yun. And one thing, kasi, di ba, as I mentioned earlier, most of the Gnostic literature were lost, except for the Gnostic Gospels and other literature that we have found in the Nag Hammadi scrolls in Nag Hammadi in Egypt. Yung scrolls kasi dun sa Egypt, may theory sila na maybe when the Pope ordered na ipasunog lahat yung mga books na hindi kasali sa Bible, some monks or some Christian sects, they did hide their holy books in a jar, and then they put it underground. So yun yung na-discover dun sa Nag Hammadi. Yung tinatawag nila ngayong Nag Hammadi Library. So nandun yung mga Gnostic Gospels na nakasurvive. Unfortunately, no, maraming Gnostic Gospels na nawala na kasi sinunog. And also the Library of Alexandria in Egypt. That's the library that holds almost, all the knowledge of the ancient world. That was the center, that was, let's say, the database of the ancient world. Unfortunately, it was destroyed, it was burned during the war with the, I think, war with the Muslims. I forgot what specific war was that. Basta nasunog yun. But there's a conspiracy theory that the Vatican daw, kinuha daw nila lahat ng mga scrolls at mga books dun sa Library of Alexandria, and it's now in the Vatican archive. So try to imagine if that's true, then the Vatican now holds all the knowledge of the entire world, even in the ancient world. Kasi diba, we have lost the Babylonian scripts, even the most ancient scriptures of the Hindus nandun din sa Library of Alexandria. And early Christianity, all the factions of Christianity, all the different interpretations of the Gospels, and so on, even the writings of the great Origen of Alexandria, what we can see now are just fragments of his work, but it's there, it's lost, gone forever. But I really think that the Roman Church do have that in their possession. All right. John Spencer, yeah, many of them I think considered as antinatalist. Yes, Yeah, they are antinatalists, so that resonates within you. You're not into, procreation. Well, that is your path. I mean, there's no judgment there. But yun nga, the Gnostics were heavily dualistic. And they don't believe that Jesus had a physical body, at least for most of them. But other Gnostic groups, they do believe that Jesus has a physical body. Really depends. Kasi nga, there is no one Gnostic church, and there is also, what do you call this? Parang wala sila talagang, the Gnostics really didn't have that one authority that, okay, this is the Gnostic Pope, the Gnostic doctrines, and hindi. Because they believe in this Gnosis. So what is Gnosis? Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. Gnosis is actually an experience. When you say Gnosis, it came from the Greek word Gnosis or Gnostikos, which actually means knowledge. But this knowledge is not knowledge that you just see anywhere. For example, I read a book. That's knowledge. I had new knowledge. Is that Gnosis? No, that's not Gnosis. Um, Gnosis is somewhat a personal or an intimate experience with the divine, with a spark of the divine that is within you. All right. Um, we have a theory, or I have a theory, or some of my friends and I have this theory that since our knowledge about the Gnostics were very limited, at tapos most of the knowledge that we have about the Gnostics were coming from their arch nemesis, which is the Roman Catholic Church. Maybe um, we are just interpreting their beliefs at a surface level, right? Because the Gnostics kasi, hindi ito lumalaban. Hindi sila lumalaban. They were not fighters. They were peasants. Just say, for example, the Cathars. The Cathars was exterminated by the Roman Church like 700 years ago. The Cathars the Cathars were living in southern France, and they're not really, they are not trained to fight. Um, they are an emerging group of Gnostics. They are led by what they call the perfecti or the parfait, the perfecti or the perfects. So the Cathars, meron silang mga believers, and meron silang mga priests which they call perfecti. The perfecti, you will not become a perfecti if um, you are not celibate. You need to be celibate, and you need to renounce all your worldly possessions. At the same time, you need to be vegetarian. Yun pala, isa din yan sa characteristics ng mga Gnostics. They are all vegetarians. Because for them, everything that is born out of procreation, out of sexual intercourse, is bad or evil. So that's it for them. So yun. And the highest position in the Cathars, in the Cathar movement, was the bishop. So wala silang cardinals. But at first they were harmoniously living in southern France. However, nung namalaya na sila ng Vatican, they started to group themselves, and they hide from the eyes of Vatican. So the perfectees, every time they visit one town, ano sila, they are being helped by the people, but in a very discreet manner. Ito lang yung ito lang talaga yung um, kumbaga, naisip mo ba na bakit ba nila pinapatay itong mga taong to? Why does the Vatican uh, tortures these people, pinapatay sila in a very brutal manner, where in fact these people cannot fight. They do not fight, right? It's because these people is a threat to their existence. These people, the Cathars, the Gnostic Cathars, they are a threat to the leadership. They are a threat to the, let's say, reign or the influence of Rome over Italy. Um, ito kasi yung mga, ito kasi yung mga tao na ano, um, people kasi wanted to have a more intimate connection with the divine. Whereas, kung titignan mo yung Roman Catholic Church, what they offer is just, rituals and stuff, and, they're just busy collecting money. They scare you with hell, give me your money, something like that. That's how the people of, that's how the people in like 10th, 11th, 12th century felt like. And then the mass is in Latin, right? And Latin is not a language being spoken by the people in France. So, parang hindi talaga nagre-resonate sa kanila yung Roman Catholic Church. However, for them, it's more of a compliance in a political manner. So, they just comply because if they don't, you'll be killed. You'll be considered as a heretic. However, the Cathars, kasi they are very, what they offer to people is a more intimate relationship with the divine. They have showed people that, hey, the divine is actually within you. The divine spark of God is actually trapped inside your body. And that resonates with, most people during that time. That's why the Cathars, even though there were already persecution, they still were able to propagate in southern France. However, nung nahuli sila, abay pinatay sila lahat, sinunog silang lahat. Alright? And yun, nawala ang mga Cathars around 14th century. It was very sad. And what we know about them is just very little, because first, the information we got from them is from the limited writings that we can see right now, which most of them came from the Roman Church. So of course, they will be writing things in a bad light. All right. Second is that most of their writings na sinulat talaga ng mga Gnostics ay mga nawala na. What we have right now is just, very tiny fragments of the Gnostic Gospels or Gnostic literature. So yun. However, during the Gnostic revival, thing came into my mind, Luna Arcana Light, thing came into my mind when I hear the word Gnosticism is authentic Gospels from the Apostles of Jesus. Also, it mirrors mystic knowledge and learnings from ancient times. Okay, yeah, so we have discussed this earlier, Alona, that the Gnostic Gospels or Gnosticism actually emerged after. Gnosticism actually emerged after the time of our Lord and Master Jesus. So in a way, Gnosticism has a different take on the existence of Jesus. They have a different take on creation. They have different take on different things. Anthony Tan, got to sleep na, frater. Have a blessed night. Have a blessed night, frater. Thank you for joining. Namaste. Alright, so yun. During the Gnostic revival period, during mga 17th, 18th century, when the Gnostic Gospels were discovered, especially in the Nag Hammadi and in the deserts of Egypt, and also they have also discovered several scrolls or scriptures circulating around the black market, the scholars actually interpreted it and translated the Gospels into English, into various languages, and those are available online right now. So doon na nagsimula yung mga new Gnostic movements. Doon na nagsimula yung, if you know Tao Malakay, the founder of the Ecclesia Pistis Sophia, also Tao Rosamonde Miller from Palo Alto, California. She's also a lineage holder of the Order of Saint Mary Magdalene. She's in California, and she also has her Gnostic sanctuary sa Ecclesia Gnostica Mysterium, something like that. That's the name of her church. So right now, no, the modern Gnostics actually interpreted the dualism of Gnosticism in a different manner. So in ancient times, they try to see it like there is an evil God and there is a good God. So there is an ignorant God and there's also a wise God. So that's actually prevalent in Gnostic themes. However, in the modern time and age right now, some Gnostics actually adhere to this what we call non-dual Gnosticism or non-dual Gnostics. What is non-dualistic Gnosticism? It's like this. Um, I've, I've read several literature, new literature, like contemporary literature right now, not the previous ones, not the ancient literature, but right now. Especially the writings of Tao Malakay, also another lineage holder, a Gnostic lineage holder. Um, it's very interesting because according to him, the demiurge or the archon or the evil god in the Old Testament, which other Gnostics call Satan, is actually just a personification of cosmic ignorance. Alright? So the archons or the archon, the demiurge, is just a personification of the cosmic ignorance. So it is just like a conscious manifestation of ignorance. And the Sophia, the good God, the God that emanated everything, is actually the personification of wisdom, of light, and ignorance, darkness, wisdom, light. So it's like when you are reading the Bible, it's not that God has changed through time. Like there's a different Old Testament God, and the God that Jesus was preaching was also a different God. No, the interpretation is like this. It is not God that changed through time, or there was no two gods in the Old Testament and the New Testament. However, it is the hearts and minds of the people that evolved through time. So it was a conscious evolution because according to, according to Tao Malakay, based on my understanding on his writings, it's like because uh, humans were not able to comprehend love and wisdom and light in the ancient times, their image of God, their vision of God is actually filtered through their own lenses of their own understanding. So their God was evil because their hearts and their minds were actually evil. However, during the New Testament, because Jesus was actually teaching forgiveness, love, giving, etc., etc., because of that, the minds and hearts of the people actually change because their perception about God has also changed. So the image of God that they have portrayed in their life is the loving, the wise God of light. So there were no two gods, but it was actually a conscious evolution from darkness to light, from having that evil, angry, jealous, misogynist, baby killing God in the Old Testament to a loving, to a gentle, wise, and you know, benevolent God that Jesus actually showed when he was incarnated into this world. And of course, what's also unique about Gnosticism, at least in the contemporary um, Gnosticism, is that no two Gnostics are the same because each Gnostic has a different experience of the divine within him or her. So, um, Gnosis can be found anywhere, right? Huh? Gnosis can be found anywhere, not just when you are meditating. Okay? So we always think that gnosis only comes when we are meditating. Actually, no. Gnosis can come from anywhere. When you are with nature, when you are even if you are reading a book, like literally a book, suddenly some sort of realization will come into you. Then that is gnosis. Um, what else? Even pain, even in sorrow, even in suffering, there is gnosis in those areas. Or, one can experience gnosis even in the lowest points of their life. All right. Nana FG, good evening, fratters and sorors. Good evening, Nana. Hello there. How are you? All right. So, yeah. Andyan pa ba kayong lahat? I'm sorry. Yeah, am I making sense? May natututunan ba? Um, Please let me know if you have any questions or clarifications along the way, so that at least I could, before I jump into next topic or a next discussion, at least you call my attention so that I could address that. Okay? Or if you want to discuss something within the context of what I am saying, then please call my attention. All right? Okay? Time check, it's 11:07. So, yun. All right? So yeah, again, Gnosis can be found anywhere. All right, and Gnosis comes before Gnosticism. When I say Gnosis comes before Gnosticism, it means that a person may have experienced Gnosis already. However, that person doesn't know how to call that, or that person doesn't have any idea that what he experiences already Gnosis. It's something that cannot be explained. It's something that, you know, it's kind of, it's something that can be experienced, but it's very hard to portray it in words. So, yun, that's Gnosis. All right? Andyan pa ba kayong lahat? Team Sabas, James Legaspi, tulog na si Brother Anthony, Christopher, tulog na rin, Andrea Torrente, um, Jen Spencer, Frater, sino pa? Sino pa nandito? Uh, yun. Alright, Nana FG, hello, hello. Alright, so yes, Nana, for you, what is Gnosis or Gnosticism? Sorry, what is Gnosticism, and who do you think are the Gnostics? Team Sabas, dito pa po ako. Alright, thank you, brother, for staying. Sino pa ba? Alright, na po ba? Ricardo Rochmain Umel, yup, still learning. still listening and learning something. All right. Um, Namaste, frater. Uh, ano ba? Yeah, if you have questions, kung may ano kayo, may hindi kayo masyado naintindihan, if you want to have some clarifications on other things, then yeah, please let me know. All right? Sino, ano pa? Um, all right. So, um, you can experience Gnosis even if you are not in a Gnostic church. Um, Maybe some of you or some of us has already experienced it, but you know, we just didn't have a name for it. Perhaps um, we didn't know it was Gnosis, but it was Gnosis, something like that. Um, it's like you don't have to go to church. You don't have to go to a Christian church to be a Christian. What you need to do is to follow the teachings of Maria or Jesus, something like that. So regardless if okay, if you wanted to be a Gnostic, but you wanted to be a Gnostic, but you don't have, let's say, a Gnostic church nearby or a Gnostic group nearby. But you are in a way studying the Gnostic Gospels. You are studying the let's say the history of the Gnostics, and then in a way you have grasped, let's say, those ideas from Gnosticism, and you practice on your own. Then yeah, you could be a Gnostic, all right? Or kahit nga hindi ka pa nakabasa siguro ng Gnostic Gospels, you can still be a Gnostic, right? Because Gnosis is an experience. Um, Even Tao Rosamond, um, in one of her interviews, she said that when she was younger, she already has these experiences, and this experience is actually very profound, and she didn't have a name for it. She even didn't know that Gnosticism exists. She didn't have a name for it. Di niya alam Gnosis pala yun. And she didn't know what is a Gnostic. So wala talaga siyang idea. But she already has that experience. So that's what she mentioned in one of her interviews. All right, so yun. Yeah, questions, clarifications, um, please write in the chats. All right, so that we'll have more interaction. Okay. Luna Arcana Light, Nana, Tim, Rochmain, sino pang nandyan? Yeah, for any questions, clarifications, just please let me know. All right, Nana FG, you already mentioned earlier, Padse, but I guess in a way, Gnosis is like having an inherent knowledge that you don't get the outside. It's like re-experiencing what is already inside but buried. Um, okay, here's a very interesting discussion um, made by Tauro Samonde on this. Um, Later on after this live this live stream, I will post the link on that interview, very wonderful interview in Aeon Byte. She was interviewed just like an hour interview, and she mentioned, clearly mentioned, she said that Gnosis is not enlightenment. Because me, personally, um, I was in a way starting to believe or inclined to believe that Gnosis is actually enlightenment. But if you talk to other Gnostic lineage holders, they will also say that Gnosis is somewhat samadhi or enlightenment. But to Tauro someone, it's different. Gnosis is not enlightenment. Gnosis and mystical experience, actually they overlap with each other, but Gnosis is not a mystical experience. So I was like, so what is Gnosis? Tauro someone said that Gnosis is actually reverse enlightenment. It's very mind-boggling, and it's a new term for me. But yeah, maybe the term is new. However, the experience is somewhat not new. Gnosis, knowing, it is like Gnosis. When you have a touch of this experience, it is realizing and acknowledging the darkness that is within you. Though you may experience this, emergence of light and maybe flashes of enlightenment. I'm trying to explain this on my own words and my own thoughts. However, it's like pointing to the moon, but if you try to focus on my explanation, it's like you are looking at the finger and you are not looking at the moon. It's something like that. So I'll just try to explain this in a way how she explained it and how I interpreted it. So, we may lose the translation along the way. It's really important that we have this experience first. So it's like acknowledging that darkness within you, that you are darkness, and that within you also resides the divine spark of light. Oh, the divine spark of God. So basically, Gnosis is acknowledging that there is darkness in you, that there is hopelessness, that there is despair. But it's not that you have to like these things, and it's also not that you have to neglect or hate these things. It's about acceptance, a full acceptance of who you really are. It's like experiencing yourself as a whole, not denying and also not self grasping. It's about the acknowledgement that that is you. You exist in that form, that darkness exists in you, and it's okay. All right? Because um, in Gnosticism kasi, it's like here's the an interesting myth in Gnosticism. It's not like Christianity that God will save us from, or God will save us uh, from this world, but rather we need to save God that is trapped in this world. So it's like the spark of the divinity has been, scattered, and they are put inside matter. We are matter. So, di ba, according to the Gnostic myth and legends, the physical world is evil. Matter is evil. Spirit is good. So, spirit is trapped inside matter. So, this is us. So, in order for us to accept ourselves as a whole, then, you just don't accept yourself as being just a spirit, because how will you manifest without a body? So you also need to accept that other half in you, which is actually dual in nature. That there is a primordial um, aspect of the divinity that is within you, at the same time, there's also the physical manifestation, the matter, the kasi in Gnosticism kasi it's really hard to, you know, put your finger on it. It's this, it's that, it's this. It's not like that. You need to have that experience in order for you to have a full grasp of what it is. And once you have that experience, once you try to express that to people as much as possible, no matter how verbose you may get, how eloquent you may sound, but still, it's just like pointing the moon with your finger. The words will be your point finger, and most of the time, people will focus on the finger and they will not see the moon, which is beyond, way beyond that finger. So, again, this is a very interesting take. No, I just discussed this. It's a very interesting take from Tauro Samonde because Gnosis is not enlightenment, it is reverse enlightenment. It is having an awareness of yourself, it's having an awareness of that darkness in you, that you cannot exist without that darkness. It's like that. Again, I'm pointing the moon with my finger, but what I just said is my finger, it's not the moon. Ricardo Strochmain Omel, higher self realization. Well, higher self realization. Um, in a way, yes, and also in a way, no. Because the realization of higher self, it's actually we're talking about enlightenment. Now, depending on the spiritual teacher that you are going to talk to, if I'm not mistaken, to the teachings of Tao Malakay, also a Gnostic lineage holder, for him, uh, it's enlightenment. No, Gnosis is enlightenment. Well, for Tauro Samond, it's different. Gnosis is reverse enlightenment. So this is very interesting in Gnosticism because again, no two Gnostics are the same because everyone will have maybe a different interpretation, everyone will have a different experience, but maybe we just have a different perception of the same thing and we describe it we describe it in the most, let's say, effective way we could. All right. So, okay, let's just put it this way. Um, you wanted to go to, let's say, the mountain province. Gusto mong pumunta kay Wangud, right? So, wala ka pang experience paano pumunta doon. So, you've asked several people, how was your experience when you went to Wangud? One person would say, pare, it was really, really amazing. Kasi nung pumunta kami doon, wala, nakasakay kami sa bus, tapos the bus stop, and then naglakad kami, talagang it was really nice kasi yung view, ganito, ganyan. So, ganun ba? It's very good. Tapos, you ask another person, the other person would say, sabihin mo, bro, how was the experience going to Wangud? This person would say, napaka-hassle pre, kala ko yung bus aabot pa hanggang dun sa sa place ni Wangud, yun pala titigil lang, tas naglakad kami, tapos napakainit, ewan ko ba, sana hindi na ako pumunta doon, something like that. So it was actually the same road they're taking, the same destination that they are going, but they have different experiences going to that same place. And that happens because you ask the person what his experience was. So the best thing to do is for you to experience it yourself. And then you will be able to, at least have a grasp about that experience. And then uh, when you share it to others, they will also, try to make sense out of your words. All right. So John Spencer, real Gnostics have unity in diversity, no need for debates and arguments. Yep, that is true. That is the I think the best word to describe it. There is unity in diversity. Um, because even the Gnostics in ancient times, they didn't have a single agreement on things. Really, they didn't have that single let's say theology where there wasn't something like that. All right. Um, John Spencer, understanding one another is the key. Understanding we all have differences. Yes, that is true. So we have differences in our spiritual experiences, in our mystical, and also in Gnostic experience. So um, if we really want to live, or if we really want to understand what Gnosis is. So we need to experience it, right? We need to let ourselves be open to that experience. Um, Actually, it is actually an experience of the heart, right? Um, as the saying goes, um, no one can really fathom the truth, but you can only embody it. So, meaning, um, if you have a grasp or an experience of that ultimate truth, you will never be able to fully comprehend it. However, what you can do is you can embody it. You can, live in accordance to the truth that you have experienced. So that's the best thing that we can do. And who knows? Maybe Tao Malakay and Tao Rosamond was actually trying to express the same thing. It was just that their way of expressing it is different. One sees light and one sees dark, right? Just like this, diba? If you can see me, I have a shadow. So the dark shadow behind me is caused by the same light, right? So if you see my hand and it reflects the light, it's true that the bulb coming from the light coming from the bulb caused this to glow. And it's also true that the light coming from the bulb caused this shadow, right? All right. Ano pa? Gnostics have unity in diversity, no need for debates and arguments. Yeah, that is true. All right. So if you don't have a question, I have a question. So, fratters and sorors, how are you doing right now with your daily sadhanas or daily spiritual practices? Have you started doing it already? All right. So the uh, the ecumenical Gnostic order that we have started, um, we still don't have any ordained brothers or sisters from the order. However, I'm looking forward that hopefully within this year we will be able to ordain our first batch of brothers or monks, Gnostic monks to be specific. All right. So yeah, I hope that you are already starting your spiritual practices, so that once you get ordained, and once you go again with your daily life, you are well equipped with your spiritual practices. You are spiritually grounded, because the path of uh, gnosis is not an easy path. That's why people call it the road less taken, uh, because if you are like me and you go against the teaching of the mainstream church, um, your life will be, let's say, will be tested. But at least, no, hindi katulad nung unang panahon na during the Inquisition, where the Gnostics were really burned at stake. Sinusunog talaga sila. Some of them were crucified in the cross. But right now, they can't do that. What they can do is they can just give you bad reviews on Facebook, right? They can just post nasty stuff about you. Um, they can post you on social media or even on media. They will try to demonize you. But unlike before, they can't kill you. Um, the Gnostic path kasi is a path of, a personal experience, personal guidance with the divine that is within you. So, um, our Gnostic movement, our ecumenical Gnostic order, is or does not adhere to any specific Gnostic belief, because for us, no, um, our beliefs should be coming from our personal experience. Our beliefs should be coming from our very own uh, gnosis. And sabi nga kanina, di ba, ni Frater John Spencer, there is unity in diversity. So, as Gnostics, as ecumenical Gnostic monks, we need to be um, more understanding, more compassionate with our brothers and sisters, and not judge them based on their beliefs, because we don't know where are they coming from. Basta for us, we need to make sure that we do not impose our beliefs to others, and we need to be faithful to the spiritual, or we need to be faithful to that mystical and Gnostic experience that is happening within us. All right. Brother Tim Sabas, are you still there? You have any questions or clarifications? Brother John Spencer, Rochmain, Nana FG. All right. What time is it? It's 11:34. Tim Sabas, I'm still listening, bro. All right. So, Frater Tim, do you have any let's say, question, or let's say clarification, or do you want to talk about something perhaps? Brother John Spencer, gising ka pa ba, bro? Rochmain, gising ka pa ba? Nana, gising ka pa? Alona, are you still awake? Team Sabas none so far. All right, so all right, so who wants to talk about anything? Hmm. Nana FG is still here, though we'll be doing my evening prayers in a while before going to sleep. Early day tomorrow. All right, Nana, no worries. So, Nana, are you by any chance doing our spiritual practice um, prescribed in the virtual monastery? Are you already doing that? If not, that's okay. Just just asking. Okay. All right. So, are there? I think there are no questions anymore. So yeah. So Nana FG browsing a bit on it every now and then, but with the paternoster beads, have been doing that even way before. All right. Very good. So you're already doing the paternoster beads. I see. But yeah, so the paternoster beads, that's actually one of our supplemental practices, all right? So when you say supplemental, um, it's uh, it's an addition to the three main spiritual practices that we do in the ecumenical Gnostic order. So first one is the early morning meditation. That's the first one. The temple meditation. Second is we have the heart meditation during noontime, where the sun is at its peak. And then lastly, the evening, our evening contemplation. And pwede mong isingit doon yung paternoster beads mo. Pwede mo ding isingit doon yung mindfulness meditation mo. Yung mindfulness is basically just being aware of your breath. And even just two breath, one breath, even when you're drinking your coffee, being aware of your breath, that's already a very good spiritual practice. Because when we have our spiritual practice, when we do our sadhanas, we are actually becoming more receptive. We are opening ourselves up to the presence of the divine to manifest in us. All right. So yeah. So wala na sigurong mga tanong, no? So ito na lang siguro. Yeah, we will end the session here, but I'll just summarize things up. So basically, I sort of treat it like meditation. Same with the rosary as I would with mantras. Yes, yes, that's it. All right, so yeah, in the end, the Gnostics were considered as a group of people, heretical Christian quote unquote sect that emerged around um, second, third century AD up to 14th, 15th century. So they hold a different belief from the common uh, traditional Christian church, the Catholic, the Roman Catholic Church, and they were persecuted during the Inquisition. Once you are charged with heresy, you will be killed. Um, you will be burned at stake. You will be beheaded. Your body will be dismembered, and so on. So that's the fate of our Gnostic predecessors. So I consider myself as a Gnostic. Um, I believe that what we know about Gnostics today is only very little, and the information that we got from them is actually coming from their arch nemesis, which is the Roman Catholic Church. Of course, the writings about them has been already filtered using the lenses of, their enemies. So of course, 'di ba, if babasahin nila yung or if magsusulat sila ng anything about the Gnostics, it would be in a bad light. And what we have now are just books, writings, very limited, very few, because during the first or during the different councils that was commissioned by the great Constantine. And right now, what we learn about them is just very, very few. Our knowledge about them is just very, very limited, and in a way our interpretation of their teachings might have been clouded, right? So I myself, considering myself as a neo-gnostic, um, a gnostic in the new age, um, we have created this movement which we call the ecumenical gnostic order, wherein we are trying to revive Gnosticism. Gnosticism, not in a way that we will create a new sect, or let's say a new faction, a new denomination of Christianity, but rather the ecumenical Gnostic order is a movement of ecumenical Gnostics. We know for a fact that no two Gnostics are the same, because everyone has their own personal spiritual experience, their own mystical experience, their own gnosis. And so, because of that, um, you know, the ecumenical Gnostic order is an avenue for us seekers, for us Gnostics, to experience true Gnosis without judgment, without hate. This will be a safe haven for the Gnostics of today, because I do believe that the Gnostics who died a few hundred years ago are now back in this generation. They are back in this time and in this age. During August 1321, when the last Gnostic Cathar parfait, when he was burned at stake, no? When the perfecti or the priest of the Gnostics was burned at stake in 1321, he said, um, 700 years from now, the laurel will be green again. So the laurel kasi, it's a symbol of love for the Cathars. And, it holds a very, it symbolizes divine love for them. So they said that after 700 years though, the laurel will become green again, and the good men and women will come back. So it's like a prophecy that, the last Gnostic priest um, prophesied 700 years ago. Actually, 699 years ago. The 700th year will be August 2021. So that's 700 years after his prophecy that the good men and women, actually, the good men and women, it's actually the translation of the word Cathar, the good men and women, or the Albigensin. So I believe that the prophecy is going to be fulfilled, because the souls of those people who were tortured, killed in the past, will come back today through reincarnation, and they will continue um, their mission in this time and age. And we are all preparing for that. Um, we are here not to wage war against, uh, the big churches. We're not here to wage war in the physical level, but we are here to actually, um, you know, we're here to show our spirituality. We are here to show that, we could settle things with love and not with hate. Um, I hope that one day, um, the wounds of the past would be healed, and we will all experience true forgiveness. We will all experience true healing, because we're not doing this. I am not doing this, establishing a Gnostic order to prove that we are right and the Roman Church is wrong or other religions are wrong. We're actually here to heal the wounds that was inflicted um, by the past. And I hope and I pray that we will all have genuine forgiveness inside our hearts, so that we will be able to move forward, we will be able to evolve, we will able to progress, facing the future with no regrets and with no chains that holds us from the past. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope you have learned new things today. Thank you everyone for joining me. This has been Frater Joseph or TM Joseph. Namaste.